Presented by Kamuk Ukulele Magazine, this is Ukulele Stories. Alex Beds, welcome to Ukulele Stories.
Thank you for having me. It's a delight to be here.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure. I actually interviewed you, via email for the Idler magazine. So if people don't know, I write a regular ukulele column for the Idler magazine, which is a great British institution. And so you can pick that up, I think, bi-monthly. Most newsagents over there. But so we had a little bit of a chat there, and you told me then that you had started working at the Southern Ukulele Store in Bournemouth in 2009. Did you have any previous kind of ukulele experience?
Nothing of note. So I was a guitar player in a band. I was looking for a part-time job, and I became the Saturday boy. I did own a ukulele several years before that. Like everyone else, I started with a Mahalo UH30, like the soprano that everyone starts with. And I got it, I think, from a music shop in Exeter that's not there now called Manson's. And I remember losing it within 24 hours of having it. But I liked the idea of having basically a guitar I could put in my backpack, like so many people do and continue to, like when they come in and they come from one instrument to the other. And I remember mine was purple, and it's the only thing I've ever bought that was purple. It's never been my color, so I don't know why I chose purple that day, but that was 2006, 2007, and the rest is history, really.
Well, you lost it, so maybe purple still isn't your color, I guess.
Yeah, there's something in that, yeah, for sure.
And what did you think then when you got to this, all ukulele store? Had you ever seen anything like that before?
So when I started, we had an eBay store selling ukuleles, and we were still mainly a kind of pointy headstock rock guitar shop. The ukulele shop side of it developed very organically. It wasn't someone's master business plan. Back then, my mentor, my manager, was this guy called Paul, and Paul had worked in music shops at that point for 25 years, and he was a bit jaded, but he'd started playing ukulele, and he'd gone up to Denmark Street in London trying to buy a ukulele and could not find one. He said, I went there with £1,000 in my pocket and nobody had anything good. So he came back, spoke to the previous owner of Southern Ukulele Store, a guy called Rob, and said, we should be the shop that does this. No one else is doing it. And I remember being there in the early stages and it being incredibly difficult to get anything substantial. So we had plenty of options available to us, like those Mahalos, the things that I think probably did a lot of good, but a lot of harm to the development of the ukulele around the world. When all you can get is a toy, that's your perception. It's like a harmonica. Yeah. I'm not a harmonica player, but you play a £9 harmonica and you play a £50 harmonica. The difference is night and day. I remember Carla were the first brand we did. Carla and Lanakai, they were the first brands we could get that actually did something that was resembling a serious instrument. And from there, it ballooned. I remember we had a box of Lanakai ukuleles arrive and sell overnight on eBay. So there was clearly this demand. And that was early 2009. And then I remember we used to come into work and we say, I bet we've sold another ukulele. And it was almost a joke because we just didn't realize what we had. And I was young enough at the time to really get behind it and start to understand it and forge relationships that I've had now for, coming up 20 years with these different manufacturers and builders. And I remember a very big moment for me then was meeting Pete Howlett for the first time, who in the UK is probably our kind of most royal person in the uke world in terms of manufacturing and building. And that was around 2010. And I learned so much in one evening of hearing him talk about how they're built. It changed my life forever. It was a canon moment in my life.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. So you started doing some YouTube stuff, which you still do now. How did that come about? Did you just think like there was a bit of a gap in the market there? I mean, there were some people doing it back then, but not very professionally, I suppose.
You had Ukulele Site producing tutorial videos on YouTube around 2011, 2012, and they were good. But when you see where Ukulele Site is now with their studio and these amazing podcasts they do and where they were then, it's a real it's eye-opening. You see the progression of the human race and how we've embraced technology. So I wasn't the first person to do videos for SUS. We had lots of talented people on the staff. Some of them have gone and come back, and some of them have always been here. But around 2017, I got quite fed up of having to sort of push everyone around me to go in front of the camera. None of them felt natural doing it. And I don't think I did either at first. But there were so many questions we would get asked in an email every day. Like every day it would be 20 questions. And I'd be like, surely this is online. And quite often the answers weren't there. So I started making content at least once a week around 2017. So nearly 10 years ago. And the Southern Ukulele store that exists now is very much built around that relationship that we've built between the customers and us, where they feel like they understand and know where we're coming from without having to walk through the doors. And we're very fortunate to have it. It's a lot of hard work, but truly, like one of the best achievements of my life is what we do here in this room now, where we compare instruments and we inform the world about what's out there in the uke world.
What sort of percentage is online sales now then? Or do you still have a lot of people coming through the doors?
Yeah, so what's nice now is we don't get a lot of the casual music shop goers, because we're just a specialist shop that just sells ukuleles. So we're based inside a giant centre called Absolute Music here in Bournemouth, which has several separate businesses under one roof. There's a college as well, there's studios, there's a brass and woodwind shop. They're our neighbours. And then upstairs above us is a whole floor, which is one of the UK's premier guitar shops. So when I took over the shop in 2024, after a really long process of a transition, we moved here so that I could learn from people who have been doing this a lot longer than me. And actually, we still don't get a lot of through traffic. Like a lot of people, they see our shop and they go, I can't believe a ukulele shop exists. And they look around.
Certainly outside of Hawaii. Yeah, not in Bournemouth.
Yeah, I know. It's so strange. But yeah, today, I've been open an hour and 15 minutes. I've had a couple come from Derby, which is about 4 hours away. They've driven down here this morning. They're trying ukuleles sort of 10 meters away from me now. And I had a customer come in first thing this morning who had driven for 2.5 hours as well. And they just wanted to buy a t-shirt. They had a coffee, t-shirt, and then they're spending the day in Bournemouth, and we were just part of their destination. So the online sales are probably 70% of our daily business, but you'll find once or twice a week, you'll have a day where you get 8 or 9 visitors, and that's the majority of the business. It fluctuates. It's really hard to put a number on, but it does it's usually slightly heavier online, particularly with the high end stuff.
Yeah, and are you mainly sending those out across the UK, or do you have many international customers as well?
We send them all over the world. We send stuff to Australia and the US. The US has always been a huge part of our shop, but obviously, like politically right now, it's harder. So I've noticed the US business has dropped off quite a bit. I mean, less said about that, the better, because it's it's just beyond our control. There's so many
beyond
people.
Our comprehension.
But beyond comprehension is the right way to put it. So the world gets bigger and then it gets smaller as the times and the politics of the world change. But yeah, we send them all over the place. I mean, there's something going to Germany today, and we do a lot of stuff that's exclusive to us. So the exclusive stuff tends to be the stuff that ends up going abroad because you can't get it anywhere else. So if you really want it, you buy it from us, and that we'll do our very best to give you the best instrument possible.
Yeah, where did that idea come from? It's a great idea to do that, to sort of team up with manufacturers and create one-off instruments. Was that your idea, and who did you approach in the beginning, and how difficult was it to make that a reality?
It's developed so much. Back in 2011, we worked with Aria, which is a Japanese brand, to make an all solid mahogany concert, because at the time, 15 years ago, everyone played concert. So we wanted to make the most affordable solid
Mm.
mahogany instrument possible. And we realized that our brand ironically had less value. So if we were to put our brand on it instead of Aria, but still be open about where it came from, that would serve us well. Hundreds and hundreds of people played those ukuleles. I had one actually, someone emailed me for information about it just this week. So that's where it started. I didn't come up with that idea. It naturally developed since around 2016 with the Brexit referendum, because I was working with brands. They were worried that we weren't going to be doing as much business with them, and I wanted to double down on that. So I said, well, no, we should do more. And I'm a ukulele player. I like nice things. I like buying instruments. I like seeing weird and wonderful things. So I've just always had this mentality that if you think something's a good idea, you should give it a try. And we've ended up with, I think, 14 different exclusive models with different brands. The first one we did was with Carla. It was an all solid acacia uke with a cutaway and a pickup that fit just exactly what the ukulele world wanted in 2015, 16. And from there, it's grown, and we've worked very closely with Flight in recent years, because they're a brand that I think they do the best job of listening to what the ukulele world is asking for that they can't get. And they do that anyway. So when you've got someone who's willing to put their money where their mouth is and say, well, look, I will take 100 of these. I will take 60 of these. Let's make it. And the owners of Flight are a similar age to me. I think there's this kind of feeling of wanting to grab the bull by the horns and change things and make things the best they can. So I do a lot of collaborations. Flight and Carla are the two biggest names that I've worked with regularly, but during COVID, we did a collaboration with Kanalea in Hawaii as well for a mango ukulele, which has come full circle because 6 years later, they've just released their first ever mango production ukulele. But we did it 6 years ago with them. So I feel like I can be a bit smug about
that. Yeah, Flight in particular seemed to have come out of nowhere in a way because, I started playing in the dark ages of the 90s, and there's certainly nothing like them back in those days. But yeah, they really make a nice kind of entry level uke. Do you recommend those as entry level?
I think everybody makes a good entry level ukulele now. The quality of an entry level ukulele now compared to when you started in the 90s, even the most basic thing like Flight do entry level well, but I think actually what I learned with Flight is that the entry level is not all they're about. I think they built their brand that way. The first 6 or 7 years they existed, they were building things to be used by absolute beginners or children. And I remember at the NAMM show in 2020, sort of just before the world shut down, seeing their stand at NAMM and seeing that they were producing ukuleles around £500 to £1,000 that were different to everyone else out there, but felt right. They really deserve more credit. I think actually the entire ukulele market, every brand producing things en masse in the Far East, they all had to up their game because Flight was so dogged at trying to produce the best thing at that price. I think that the entire ecosystem of instrument manufacturing has improved because of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. What about budgets for ukes then? What do you think is a good budget if someone's listening to this? Maybe they're in a group, they just play, now and again, they want to upgrade to something that's just kind of a decent level. What would you recommend?
That the goalposts on that can move from time to time, and everybody's slightly different because I think we're all more money conscious than we used to be. I think that anything up to I'll have to talk in sterling, but anything up to £150 is going to be a beginner's ukulele. You get good beginner's ukuleles though for £150. If you've already got something like that and you're looking to progress, I think that the more money you can invest in an instrument, the less likely you are to have your head turned by another one in 3 months. If you spend £200 on your next one, you're always going to be wondering what happened if I spent £300. So I would say £150 is a good place to start. If you can budget £500 for your next one, you've got so much choice. And I think from there, really, if you spend more, there is a there's like a kind of discrepancy between the value, like what you're paying and how much better the instrument can be. And then you start to really see
Yeah.
things are things start to be priced for what they're worth rather than built to a price. So things like Oli, El
Yeah.
Luthia, and Nui Nui, and then the Hawaiian brands, Kanalea, Koaloha, these brands all start to build their instrument and then tell you what the price is. And I think that we all aspire to have something nice. But if you are budget conscious, I think that a Flight Fireball, a Kala Contour ukulele, or a Night Owl, these ukuleles are all great. And then up in the next price point, you've got brands that are more established but produce in smaller numbers. So £500 or £1,000, you're going to get something that you're not going to immediately outgrow.
Yeah, that's the advice I give to everyone: is buy the best you possibly can with the money you have, because you'll actually want to play it. You know, that's the key. And if you want to play it, you're going to get better at playing it, and then you're going to want to play it even more. So that's the way to go for sure.
Yeah, and also my other main tip for folks is don't put the ukulele in the bag or the case unless you have to. If you put it out on a stand, you're going to pick it up for at least 2 minutes every day. It's like going to the gym. You know, if you live opposite the gym and you go 2 minutes on the way home, you know, you're going to feel the benefit of it long term. It's the same with musical instrument rehearsal and practice.
Yeah, I've got a ukulele beside me, of course I do, but I also have too many in the cases in a cupboard, so I have to get those guys out, give them a play.
Rotate them.
What about the latest? Yeah, exactly. I've got to start doing that for sure. Are you a big collector yourself?
Yes, but I do have a word with myself quite often about, you know, what I'm doing. And like I at one point I had a lot of guitars and ukuleles. I sold all of my guitars several years ago. I had to downsize, kind of point in my life where I had to restart. And it started, and I noticed a lot of what I had was because it was rare, not because it had some kind of intrinsic value to me. So I try and keep it to 5 instruments at a time. And that might sound like a lot, but you know, I perform 6-7 times a month. No. But you know, I'm around instruments all the time. So if I really want something, what I try and do now is I look at what I've got and I say to myself, like, do I want this more than I enjoy this? And I try not to get too sentimental about musical instruments, particularly if something's really valuable. There have been times where, you know, when I wanted to take over the shop and, you know, my car blew up and I had to buy a new car. And there are things where I'm like, well, is this joy that this brings me more valuable than being able to pick my kids up from school? No, it's not. Have a word with yourself. Come on, grow up. So that's enabled me to, the things I've got now are the things that I would really struggle to say goodbye to.
Yeah. Well, that's excellent advice, I think, and probably advice I need to take. What about vintage stuff? Does that interest you, or are you all contemporary?
Vintage stuff interests me, but I think that the best days of the ukulele are actually happening now. I love hearing old ukulele music. My friend Phil Dolman is somebody who, like, he shows me these songs that are 100 years old and they speak to me and I love them and I love the blues. But actually, the way ukuleles are built now, the consistency of the instruments and how they feel speaks to me a lot more than an old instrument. We had a collection of older ukuleles when the Uke Room, which was a vintage shop in the UK, closed. I helped Matt sell what he had left. I put it up on our website and I learnt about these instruments. And I love seeing where we've been, but I'm much more excited about where we're going. You know, I love an old Kamaka and I love an old Martin, but you know, I'm much more excited about how Kanalea continue to laser etch their tops to make them thinner. That's what gets me excited to come to work every day.
Yeah, the technology is always evolving. I think when I talked to you for the Idler, you were talking about slimline ukuleles being a bit of a thing. And I think I've noticed more electric and sort of semi-acoustic, kind of semi-electric ukes on the market now. Yeah. What are you seeing?
Yeah, it's funny. It feels a bit like the ukulele is just living 70, 80 years behind the guitar world sometimes, because guitars started off very small and then they got bigger, and then the electric came along and that market grew. Although I do think that I'd be shocked if the peak we're enjoying right now of electric ukuleles gets bigger. I feel like the people looking for an electric ukulele now are the people playing in groups that want to do something different with it. And you're not really seeing anybody buy them to lead a band. It's always people part of an ensemble who are looking to add something new to that ensemble. So
different sound.
Yeah. And the slimline ukulele thing, like the acoustic slimlines, the most popular flight ukuleles we sell are slimlines, and the most popular Kala ukuleles we sell are slimlines.
Kala have been doing it for a long time, haven't they? The slimline.
Yeah, that travel ukulele. Yeah,
the travel ukulele. That's it.
Yeah, it was always popular. And it's funny because now the Revelator really continues that. But I do like a Revelator. I love how it fits to the body. Like I feel like I play the Revelator better than I play other instruments, because when I'm leaning in to play it, it feels more connected to me. Like, although I'm closing my body off because the instrument is sitting closer to my body, I definitely feel more expressive in how I play. Like maybe it gives me a little bit more projection or bounce. I don't know, but I'm clearly not the only person who's having that experience when I try them.
Yeah, that's very cool. What about in the UK then, generally? Do you think people are finally getting away from the sort of George Formby connotations? And I mean, I have to admit here, I'm a huge George Formby fan. And I learned playing from someone who was a member of the George Formby Society in the 60s. So, I love it, but I know a lot of people don't love it as much. And it's obviously still a part of British culture. If you play ukulele in Britain, people just go, George Formby, play when I'm cleaning windows, which I will happily do. But
so yeah. What would you like my answer to be to that? Would you like to see?
I'd like it to be a truthful answer.
I think that the generation of George Formby, that generational attachment to it is nearly gone. I've never listened to a George Formby song and felt an emotional connection to it, but I still have customers who are, I would say, 65 plus. They still feel that attachment because they watch George Formby movies with their parents or their grandparents even sometimes. But they're not the people playing George Formby songs. The people keeping it alive in the UK are people like Matthew Quilliam and Andy Eastwood. And I feel like that's enough. Like, you don't need anybody else tapping into that part of the ukulele's history. So the people that do it better than most other people ever have. And it's nice that they have the space to kind of pay tribute to that, and people will pay to see them pay tribute to that. Probably not because they're Formby fans, but because they want to see something different. So it's a fresh homage in its own way, but it's such a small part. Like the George Formby element of the ukulele, I feel like in the 20 years I've been around the ukulele, like coming up to 20 years I've been around the ukulele, it's never really been at the surface. It was always a subculture. And certainly I don't see too many people. I've spoken to folks from the Syncopator magazine over the years, and not many people from the George Formby Society purchase ukuleles from us because they're much more interested in the vintage market and what they can find. So it's a bit, I feel like the George Formby thing is quite punk now. It lives with its own.
It is a bit,
it's when something becomes
subculture,
when something becomes so niche, actually, it's its own domain. It's its own domain. I love that we've got niches within niches in the ukulele world.
Yeah. What? Speaking of trends, we've talked about instruments. What are you seeing in terms of just general trends in people playing and things? Because does the shop have anything to do with any groups or any local players?
When we started, we did run a group. There are so many groups around the UK. There are a couple in our local area. We're not directly involved in them. If they ever asked me for help, or if they ever asked me to promote them in any way, meaningful way, I would. If they had an event on and we could help in some way, I'd love to. But it's not a big part of what we do. Instead, what we do here at SUS is I put on 4 to 6 events in this centre where we are now a year. I take a lot of pride in paying professional musicians to be professional musicians. We've got an event coming up in July where Flight have helped me. I've got someone coming from Denmark. I've got an Italian girl coming from Brighton. I've got a Colombian guy coming from London, and I've got another person coming from Scotland. And, these are 4 people who do very different things with the ukulele. And
did I see Peter Luongo is also coming to your place?
So I met Peter at NAMM, and he said he was coming to the UK. We're putting an event on here for that, and so that's been on sale for a week, and we've already sold 30 tickets. I'm thrilled.
Nice.
I'm just thrilled to be able to feature artists, and the trend of ukulele players seems to be we've moved away from percussive style playing and strumming to fingerstyle. And the people that are out there doing the most with the ukulele tend to be doing a lot of finger picking, or they tend to be doing a lot of melody around how they play. And I've got my own theories on where that's come from.
Okay.
But that seems to... Well, I actually think that we talked earlier about ukulele site and the YouTube thing. I think that YouTube has shaped the entire culture of ukulele, social media in particular, but YouTube with players like Corey Fujimoto, Calaguemo, Andrew Molina, a lot of the Hawaiian folks, Brittany as well, and how they play classical music arrangements of contemporary songs on ukulele. That's become the norm. I think that's just become what we hear when we hear a ukulele in isolation. And I'm seeing now that the majority of players lean into that when they play.
Yeah, I agree. I think Andrew Molina is one of the best at doing that. Fantastic player, really is.
Andrew's great. We had him here last year, and it's the expression in how these players play. I remember watching Jake and Andrew Molina having like a impromptu kind of, not even a jam, but they were trying to learn an arrangement for a performance. And I was just watching them, and just the actual depth of tone that comes from their fingers when they play an instrument. It's just inspiring. You can't help but get wrapped up in that.
Yeah, and that is that expression that, all uke players and all musicians should be striving for, really, because,
for sure.
You can sit around in a uke club playing songs out of a book just sort of on autopilot, but it's the expression that actually creates the music, in my opinion, anyway. What do you play? What's your favorite sort of things to play?
Genre-wise or instrument-wise?
Oh, both. Let's go with both.
So the majority of the instruments I own are tenor or baritone. I tend to play a tenor strung low G or a baritone strung in reentrant tuning. I'm just in the middle of recording an album at the moment, and for the majority of the album, I've used a Carla Revelator baritone and a Kanalea Ilakai tenor, so a maple Hawaiian-made tenor strung low G, or the Carla Revelator. It's actually my own signature model that I have with Carla, which is a redwood top with a mahogany body, and it sounds completely unique in the mix. And I love that it's an instrument that when you play with other instruments, it doesn't get lost. So many ukuleles get lost, or they're too pokey. Like, some instruments are just so responsive that I actually find that it makes me a timid player. The Revelator with a redwood top, and some of the others I've tried with softwood tops like spruce or cedar, they sit so wonderfully in a mix. You can really dig in, and you can play with a lot of enthusiasm, or you can play with quite a lot of natural melancholy in a very gentle way, but you're not going to get lost next to a bass player or a guitar player. And I found that's my natural fit. I don't know if you know, I do a Friday jam here at the shop on social media every week. Yeah, okay. So we do that every week. And I think that my love for the Revelators has come largely because of those jams, because I'm trying to fit and do something in one take with no editing. I'm trying to edit myself in real time. And that's an instrument that I find just naturally I can do that on. Like, I can play a Revelator and I can normally get it right in one take. Whereas other instruments, I have to concentrate a bit more. I don't lose myself quite as much when I play.
And you kind of work with some friends over there too, don't you? So they're always in on the jams, and it's another good part of your shop is that the people actually selling the ukes can play the ukes, which is always helpful, I find.
It wasn't always that way, the early days of
No.
the early days of our shop. You had Paul, who was my mentor, as I say. He played ukulele. He taught me how to play a few things, but it took me a long time. Like, I always had like a good feeling about the ukulele, but actually my repertoire on the ukulele around 5-6 years ago overtook my repertoire on the guitar. And I've been recording and producing an album with a friend for the last couple of months. And I always used to keep a guitar in the studio so that I could work out in real time like a melody or an arrangement. And I've noticed this is the first time that I take a ukulele instead. I'm able to translate what's in my brain musically onto the ukulele quicker than I can on a guitar now. It's a lot of those Friday jams are part of it. And the guys are the same. I'm the only one who's really performing and teaching workshops on the ukulele, but I'm the luckiest guy in the world, really, because my job it can be hard like any job, but I come to work and I work with my oldest friends, and we get to talk about music, and we get to talk to people who come in about music. And if I'd known at 15 that's what I would be doing with my life at 40, I would have been quite happy. But actually living it every day, I'm lucky, and long may it last.
Yeah, well done. Sounds like paradise.
Thank you.
What's your CD about? What sort of genre is it, or is it original stuff? What's the go?
Yeah, so I've done a few albums of original music. My last album was very, very sad because I'd been through a divorce and I was adjusting, and I was using music in a kind of therapeutic way. And what's actually happened the last 7 or 8 months is I've been trying to be off technology more. And what started happening was I would put on in the background while I was doing kind of crafty bits at home or playing music, like I put on spaghetti western films. And it took me back to being about 7 or 8 years old and spending a lot of time with my granddad during school half terms. And I still watch a lot of these films, and they're incredibly violent, by the way. Like, it's mad. It's mad. Like, some of them are so violent. And I don't remember that at all from.
There's a lot of tomato sauce flying around.
Yeah. But the music, that Ennio Morricone music, I'm not writing instrumental songs. I'm still writing pieces of music that are, lyrical, that they're songs. They're not arrangements. But we are interspersing a lot of brass and sort of staccato bass 6 guitar. And a lot of my friends, people who I've known for 20 plus years, people who I've always wanted to work with, I've sent them demos of the songs, and then they've said, look, that's fine, count me in, I'll do it for free. And these are all professional musicians. So I knew I'd stumbled on something, but actually I think it's the best music I've ever made. Like, everyone, you should feel that way about your most current music, but I really feel like 20 years after I hit a peak in a band as a youngster, I've hit a peak again, and I can't wait I'm getting this album pressed on vinyl. So it's being mixed and mastered for vinyl, which is a process I've never done before. And that's been part of the fun.
Yeah, awesome. When can we expect to see that?
So the album recording should be finished within the next 6 weeks. I'm playing 8 ukulele festivals this year, so I'm hoping to have it ready for the first one in mid-June. So my goal is to get the vinyl pressing done by then. But if not, the album will be available by then. It just might be that the vinyl follows a bit after.
Will that be at Ukes with Alex then, or is that your website?
It will probably be made available through Southern Ukulele Store. I have a Patreon store, like a Patreon channel, patreon.com/Ukes with Alex. And I have a YouTube channel, Ukes with Alex too. Although since taking over Southern Ukulele Store a few years ago, I do less of that stuff because I do it in my day job. So I'm doing the same content, but I might as well put it under Southern Ukulele Store because it's the bigger, it will go
umbrella.
Further.
Yeah.
But no, my name's Alex Beds, and I release music under my own name. And I'm quite fortunate. Like, you'll see me if you're UK based and you're watching this, you'll see me on the poster for a lot of the ukulele festivals this year. And this isn't my first go round the sun of that. Like, I've done that quite a few times over the last 10 years.
Great. Well, I encourage everyone to get out and check you out on the road.
Thank you very much.
My final question that I ask everybody is what does the ukulele mean to you? But I'm actually going to refer to one of the answers you gave me in the Idler interview, where you said, and I'm not sure if this will kind of align with what you might answer, but you said a good instrument has a medicinal quality to it. You want it to soothe you, make you think, help you express yourself, and heal. And to me, that's a great summing up of what the ukulele can do for you. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think there have been times in the last 7-8 years of my life where I've actually really needed the ukulele. You know, the ukulele feeds my children, which is actually quite an emotional,
that's something.
Quite an emotional thing to think about. Like when I was growing up, I used to be a guitar player in a band, and I used to think when I have children one day, they're going to know that I was in a band and that I was cool. And what's actually happened is that my children don't even really know that I play guitar, but they come to this store. You know, we come here and we have a coffee in a coffee shop that we have on site called Ukulele that I bought, that I made.
Nice.
So the kids come in and they have a drink. They have a hot chocolate at the Ukulele, and then they come in here and they love Romeo and Phil who work here. Like Romeo and Phil to them, they're the cool one. Like I'm not cool. Like I'm just not cool, but I am passionate. So, you know, my guys are cool. My kids think they're cool. They love being here. They love being a part of it. They don't really understand what it is they don't understand, but I do. So every day for me, whether I'm playing a musical instrument and there's a physical thing that happens where it makes me happier, or if I'm sad and I can emote that through the musical instrument, that makes me happier. But also being able to legitimately call myself a professional musician because of what I do here, that gives me a sense of fulfillment that I think a lot of people would start all over again for. I wouldn't say it means everything to me, but I think that it's so interwoven into every element of my life. I'm grateful that I found it, and I'm grateful that it found me.
Perfect. That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Alex. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and connecting on a more personal level. And hopefully we can meet in person one day.
I really hope so too. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you're enjoying Ukulele Stories, please rate and review the show. You can also support it at buymeacoffee.com/Camuke. That's buymeacoffee.com/KAMUKE. To take us out, here's Alex with an original song called Lying from his 2023 album Raising Lions, Raising Wolves. I'm Cameron Murray. Until next time, keep on smiling and keep on strumming.
Sorry, my fingers are doing different things to what I want. 1, 2, 3, 4. No sense to me because you like it better when we weren't apart. People say they saw you. I told myself it couldn't be. Now the hearsay ate away at me. Life can bring you any place, like the day it brought you down there. Lying, you're lying. I can see it in your face as you back away. Lying, you're still lying.
Now I notice things I didn't before, like how you seem to use your phone much more. How long has this been going on? Just help me understand it. I used to be a happy guy, not the fallout from a wandering eye. How long has this been going